Alright guys, welcome back to another one. So today we're going to talk about something pretty crazy that has occurred earlier on this week. It's to do with Square Enix, and it is currently making some headlines for pretty good reason. It's quite crazy to say the least, and I guess that Square Enix felt that this was so important that they actually had to make a public service announcement on both social media as well as their Japanese website, announcing that they have taken direct action against a Final Fantasy XIV news blog site that has existed for the past 13 years, since 2013. Not exactly taking legal action, I don't believe, just based on what has been publicly stated, but getting in contact with the administrator, the owner of this blog site, to request that they not only take the website down, but also publicly apologize and provide Square Enix with a settlement fee. And yes, in the span of a couple of days of Square Enix reaching out and coming to an agreement with this person, all of those things have been done. So you're probably wondering, what the hell has occurred then to force Square Enix to do something like this? So I'm going to read out the official statement here by Square Enix. This has been translated from Japanese to English, but you should be able to get the basic gist of what's occurred. We recently filed a request for disclosure of the sender's information regarding the administrator of the website Netoge News. So the name of this Final Fantasy XIV blog in Japanese is known as Netoge Sokuho, but plainly here, as it's even mentioned in the official statement, in English it's just simply known as Final Fantasy XIV net.2chblog.jp, posted an article including content that lowers the social standing of the Final Fantasy XIV staff. Subsequently, the corporation that provided the service used by the site administrator voluntarily disclosed the sender's information. So clearly, whatever service or company was hosting this blog ended up providing Square Enix with the admin's information so that Square Enix could actually get in contact with them to say, hey, you're in the shit. Following discussions with the administrator, we are pleased to announce that a settlement has been reached, with the site being shut down, an apology being posted, and a settlement being paid. The website has been shut down, so you can no longer access it. I ended up using the Wayback Machine to get some screenshots of the website. Along with that, the apology as well, which was posted on the blog. Here is a screenshot of that apology. Square went on to say, going forward, we will continue to take strict measures, including legal action against any attacks on specific individuals or any harassment that threatens the safety and mental well-being of our executives and employees. In order to protect our executives and employees and maintain a healthy working environment, we strongly urge everyone to review our customer harassment response policy and refrain from any actions that harm the dignity of our executives and employees. So for those of you who don't know, at the beginning of last year, Square Enix announced a brand new policy that the company will now be enforcing. And this actually did the rounds a little bit because it was quite interesting. Square Enix more or less said that if there is any verbal harassment and abuse that is posted online in any shape or form, the company will be looking at taking strict legal actions against individuals who are partaking in such actions. And this legal action is a bunch of different things, like silencing a person, deleting certain things, like accounts, or in this case, websites, paying them out a set amount of money, even requesting Square Enix for monetary compensation over certain things, or the exchange of products, or unreasonable apologies requested by an individual to Square Enix, requesting to provide excessive products or specific services that are deemed socially unacceptable, or requesting that a certain staff member at Square Enix is to be punished, all falls under Square's harassment policy, where if behavior like that is taking place, they are fully prepared to take strict action. Obviously, a lot of people are like, oh my god, like, what the fuck is this? Like, what are they trying to, like, censor people? If you criticize Square Enix, are you gonna end up getting sued? Like, what the fuck is going on here? And since the introduction of that policy at the beginning of last year, I don't think that there actually has been a circumstance where this policy has been actually enforced by the company. And with Square Enix making a public service announcement of this situation, to me that comes across as, hey, if you end up partaking in this type of behavior, this is exactly what the company can do to you. To get a clear understanding of this situation though, this is not a circumstance where a Final Fantasy XIV news blog has simply criticized Square Enix. So it's got nothing to do with this blog and its commenters criticizing different design decisions to do with Final Fantasy XIV or just typical criticism-based stuff. No, this is more so in the realm of abuse and harassment. The sticky thing about this situation though is it's hard to actually pinpoint exactly what article or specific thing was actually said by the blog in order to receive such an intense reaction from Square Enix. Tons of people on Reddit are currently talking about this and mentioning that this blog was talking about possibly doxing specific development members of Final Fantasy XIV, singling out some of the developers and throwing around extremely personal insults. From my understanding, this is very much Square Enix trying to protect their employees and their mental well-being. Of course though, when something like this happens, the West does tend to freak out a little bit, because at first glance, it does come across that Square Enix are basically trying to censor one part of the internet that has a problem with the company. But Square Enix are in their full rights to be able to do something like this. It wasn't too long ago that Japan introduced a new Internet Safety Act known as the Information Distribution Platform Act, which basically means that companies over in Japan can request the deletion of specific information if it is deemed harmful, along with requesting the author's information, and even take legal action against them. But in this case, this entire situation was settled outside of the jurisdiction system. I have seen some slightly tilted comments regarding this situation though, with people basically thinking that if anyone is slightly mean or slightly criticizes Square Enix, you're going to end up getting omni-slashed. I think people need to understand that if Square Enix were truly wanting to witch hunt every last person that has anything slightly negative to say about the company, and we're talking criticism here, not just blatant harassment, then yeah, Square Enix would be on a lifelong mission, because there's plenty of people currently sitting on the internet doing this exact thing. Hell, even myself, I've criticized Square Enix, in fact, quite a lot. I suppose if that was really the case, I would be one of the prime targets, because while I love Square Enix to my bone marrow, I also do look at them a lot of the time without biased eyes. From what I'm seeing online within forums, this genuinely does seem like some truly horrible shit that the owner of this blog was partaking in. You also have to think too that this is a Japanese blog, so obviously with Square Enix's policy in place, it means that it does very easily affect anyone that is partaking in harassment or abuse towards Square Enix that does reside in Japan. Something like this definitely has less grounds if you are outside of Japan. It certainly still does apply, but it's a little bit trickier to get around. However, because this truly does apply in Japan, this meant that yet another Final Fantasy XIV blog, a day after this situation occurred, decided to pull the plug. Another blog known as Umadori, who again has been operating for quite some time, put up a post here mentioning this is a sudden announcement, but we have decided to stop updating and suspend this blog. I reconsidered the weight of my responsibility in disseminating information on the internet and decided to set my own boundaries. We sincerely apologize to all the Final Fantasy XIV development and management staff for the inconvenience. So yet again, this is clearly another blog that has also been partaking in different conversations to do with harassing specific Final Fantasy XIV developers. It seems that Square Enix are dead ass about this type of thing, and that they will not stand for any type of personal harassment that's been flung towards their employees. It's crazy though, because legal takedowns like this do occur with companies like all the time. However, it is actually very rare for a company to make an example, a public example, out of a situation like this. This is Square absolutely using the situation as warning to say, hey, we're not going to stand for any bullshit. And by the way, in case you guys don't know, these Japanese news blog sites are known as matome sites, which means that they work very much similar to forum sites like 4chan, where a lot of people that are partaking in discussions and commenting on different articles can comment anonymously. So just like 4chan proves, because of that fact alone, it encourages people to pretty much say whatever the hell they want. And again, while I do not know the facts for absolute certain, as it's just so hard to find exactly what has been said, according to a lot of the discussions surrounding this situation, there was some pretty heinous stuff that was being said across both of these news blogs. So yeah, it's definitely not what I was expecting to come out of Square Enix for this week. It seems as if Square Enix are actually sitting there, finger on the trigger, ready to pull out a fucking Zeta flare if action is needed to be taken. Let me know your thoughts and opinions towards this situation in the comments section down below. Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Be sure to slippity slap that like button as it helps me out a ton, and subscribe to the channel to keep up with everything going on here. Big shout out to my wonderful patrons and YouTube members. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and we'll chat again real soon.